after watching Trump's first administration and certainly hearing his campaign rhetoric on the trail for the second, I had to do something to fight back. And, being raised in a Jewish household and growing up in that community, I had the opportunity to meet Holocaust survivors and learn all about the history of Nazi Germany and Hitler's rise to power. And when we see 5-year-olds in courtrooms without representation, when we see college students being disappeared for their political beliefs, and even worse, when we see babies being ripped from their mother's arms while they're screaming for their children in the name of patriotism in this country, I really think we're watching history repeat itself. And, Ice Block was about the best way I could think of to fight back.
So, but on that note, I'm wondering, does the app encourage anyone to do anything illegal?
Absolutely not. Our whole thing is inform, not obstruct.
So Joshua Aaron emphasizes protecting vulnerable communities. I don't know what that means. Does he mean the legal immigrants? Does he mean the dreamers? Or does he mean the criminal illegal immigrants that the ICE agents are going after? Many will recognize that his views draws on historical fears, and that's an attempt to justify the app. Many progressives will resonate with his arguments because they focus on this idea of fairness, and we'll talk about that later in the video. So let's look at some of the facts on his side. The ICE Block app has 541,000 users, which alerts communities to ICE sightings, and that is basically what it does. Now, there's no evidence that shows that the app promotes violence against ICE agents, because it mostly emphasizes avoidance. Now, Tom Homan counters Joshua's position that the app simply undermines law enforcement. Now, here's his perspective.
I know it's just simply disgusting, and any network that covers that is disgusting as well. So I'm hoping DOJ steps in there and see if they cross that line of impeding federal law enforcement officers. Look, Lawrence, you and I talk about this. Assaults against ICE is up over 500%. Now you got an app that's going to tell where ICE operations are going to be. It's only a matter of time before ICE agents are ambushed by some nut, like what happened in LA, throwing a Molotov cocktail, throwing bricks at these officers. This is just disgusting at every level. So I hope DOJ dives in this deeply, because ICE is concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This shouldn't be an issue anybody is against. So they're already a dangerous job going after the worst of the worst. These guys are putting their lives on the line every day going after the worst and worst international security threats. And this app makes it that much more dangerous. It's incredible that those who enforce law, all of a sudden they're the bad guys. The ones who break the law, they're victims. It's disgusting.
Why would CNN promote this? Why would they do a story on this?
I can't figure it out. I've been doing this for 4 decades. I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's got to be they hate Trump more than they love law enforcement.
So Tom Homan focuses on the safety of law enforcement as they do their jobs, and his view frames the ICE Block app as a direct threat to agents in the field simply doing their job. Now, this aligns with many conservatives' call for secure borders and for criminal illegals to be summarily deported. So let's look at some of the facts on this side. ICE has reported 79 assaults this year alone, which is 10 more than last year. And this is according to ICE data. However, some claims of a 500% increase may include minor incidents like physical contact and so on. So those may be highly exaggerated on the conservative side. So his focus on security appears to overlook community fears about legal immigrants being roped into some of these raids and so on. But he is on record saying that the resistance of many sanctuary cities and blue states against containing criminal illegal immigrants for ICE agents to pick them up in the safety of a detention situation like in a police cell would create a scenario much like what we're seeing today. Now, there are a few historical debates that provide context for these tensions, and let's see what history has to say about these ideas. The 1986 Immigration Reform Act was responsible for legalizing 3 million illegal immigrants, and it also tightened borders. Recently, we saw protests against the ICE enforcement, with over 3 million people joining these protests in different cities all over the United States. The ICE Block app simply joins a long line of attempts to support sanctuary policies. And Democrats have argued that the big, beautiful bill's $170 billion ICE funding, again, we'll talk about fairness soon. Now, the argument that deporting millions of illegal immigrants is unfair tends to fall short of common sense reasoning. And one thing that most people don't consider is this, that the expedited removals that were voted into law during a Democrat presidency and carried out by successive Democrat presidents doesn't become unconstitutional when a Republican president does it. So let's talk about fairness like I promised. I think that fairness must first consider the tax-paying citizens who see illegal immigrants being treated with more respect and dignity than they are. And if there are potential immigrants who are trying to get into the US the right way, it's unfair for them when they see those who bypass the system getting rewarded and congratulated by the government of the United States while they themselves are denied access into the country legally. Now, Democrats are the first to jump up to say that mass deportations harm families and communities, but they really have no answers when the same argument is being raised about American families who are separated because a parent committed a crime. So if illegal immigration is a crime and the parents are being deported because of the crime they permitted, they are being separated from their kids, just like an American parent would be. But Democrats don't see things that way. And that's quite frustrating. Some Democrats have even gone as far as saying that illegal immigration is not a crime. However, Republicans simply argue that these deportations protect national security and reduce crime. It's a simple argument and it's quite effective and, dare I say, common sense. And as an immigrant myself, I find that argument difficult to debunk with the rising incidence of crime being committed by criminal illegal immigrants. So here's the bottom line of this story. Secure borders protect communities. However, heavy-handed enforcement risks roping in legal immigrants. And when that does happen, you can trust left-wing media to center on that story and make it the biggest thing of the week. I also think that agents should be allowed to do their job safely, and criminal illegal immigrants should be detained by local law enforcement to enable safe deportations by ICE. Now, the conversation about dreamers is a complex one and requires good faith compromise by both political parties. So, in case you were cooking dinner and missed some detail, here's the recap. We examined the ICE Block app's impact on communities and law enforcement. Joshua Aaron said it protects families from raids. Tom Homan called it a dangerous threat to ICE agents. My common sense opinion is that both agents and immigrants need a safe process for immigration enforcement, and that a compromise between both sides of the aisle is needed to provide a working policy for dreamers. Now, I encourage you to research this issue and form your informed conclusion about the ICE Block app and other immigration stories making the rounds, especially those with different perspectives. And this is the part where you let us know your thoughts. I'm curious about your perspective on whether the ICE Block app helps communities or endangers agents. Do you think it is possible for both sides to reach a compromise to discuss how to solve the problem of dreamers getting recognized and having immigration laws that favor them? And if you like this video, hit that like button, share it with others, subscribe so you'll know when we publish new stories that break down complex issues with clarity and values, and check out the next video about the One Big Beautiful Bill and the accusations that it is a billionaire giveaway, and find out whether this is true or whether it is really a lifeline to the American people. That video is coming up next.